museum, a place to look back and reflect on the achievements and historical objects of the past. In a children's eyes, it is a place to explore the fascinating world of what lay before. To an adult, it is a place to appreciate the artistry and craft of the various objects. In Animal Crossing, the museum is split into 6 main sections: the entrance, the fish, the bugs, the fossils, the observatory, and the paintings. While the entire museum itself uses only one piece of music, each of these areas has a different style than the rest. This is a unique method of music integration in what's known as vertical integration. I will show you visually just what this looks like. Vertical integration is a valuable asset due to the fact that the composer only needs to write one piece of music. With some clever arrangement, the composer can simply mute select instruments to convey a new style to the song. As you can see on the left here, 1 or 2 instruments are grouped together within their respective areas, such as the drums and piano in the fossils area or the violin and clarinet in the paintings. For the song itself, the composer decided to keep things very simple by producing only a 2-measure long pattern before repeating in the harp. I find it extremely impressive how the music does not become too stale on repeated listens, but the introduction of new instruments keeps the listener guessing on what will happen in the next area. Museum is set at a steady 104 beats per minute with a clear 4/4 time signature. And also be aware that the song is in A sharp minor, so without further ado, let's hop into the first area, the entrance. With the exception of the observatory, each area swaps out 2 instruments at a time. For the entrance section in particular, we are introduced to the museum through a harp, a woodblock, and a bassoon. The harp is the rhythm setter, and is what keeps the piece in movement. Notice how it has a slight delay in the background. This is because I inputted a delay plugin that is set to every 16th note. Now hear it as it is bypassed. This gives it that slapback delay sound. In the woodblock, it definitely is meant to indicate the passing of time with its clock-ticking pattern of notes. These notes are pitched, though, using both the D sharp and the C notes. And both of these notes are contained within the A sharp minor scale. The last instrument, the bassoon, hints at a melody, although it's sparsely played. The bassoon does a great job of establishing a melody in the baritone region. Melodies don't always have to be the highest voice, as displayed in this song. The fossils area is quite unique from the others in that it uses a drum kit to enhance the rhythm. With the simple nature of usual Animal Crossing music, the beat is very basic, using only a kick and a side stick. A side stick sound is created when a drummer hits against the metal rim of a snare. As you can see in the plugin for the side stick and the kick, here's the original sample and here's the modified version. Now the first thing I did was to cut off a little of the high end, and then the second step was to send a lot of reverb. Then finally I detuned it down 5 steps. The other instrument, the piano, only plays the single note here, although it does come in a bit later and acts as a transition in this section. Of course, the first instrument that most people go to when they think of stars is the glockenspiel. In fact, when you're actually looking through the museum's telescope, the glockenspiel is the only one that is playing. due to it being the single instrument in this observatory area, it is by far the most active instrument. The notes it uses are small arpeggios to accompany the harp. But if you remove these middle notes here, it is essentially the same pattern as the harp, just a couple of octaves up. The introduction of violin and clarinet makes us think of the classical period of music, and is a good choice to give the player a sense of history. The reason why the violin sounds a bit dissonant is because it uses the 7th scale degree of the A minor scale. While the harp is playing the A sharp here, the violin counters that with the G sharp. Now moving on to the clarinet. I love these short notes, not quite staccato, but then they are followed by staccato notes here. If all these notes were the same length, this section would sound a lot less intriguing. Now, time for the full song playthrough. I'll play through each section by itself, and then like the game, I'll switch between areas, and then at the end I'll combine everything, and we'll see how that sounds. Even with a mostly new cast of composers for City Folk, the mission of Animal Crossing remained the same: keep it simple. In many of the buildings of City Folk, the developers use vertical integration of music to easily transition between various sections of the music. Museum is a nice and uncomplicated way to see this technique in action. This is part 3 of a 4-part series on Animal Crossing. In our next and final video, we'll travel to the game of New Leaf and discover another beautiful piece of music. Thank you for watching this analysis. I thoroughly enjoy recreating these songs and showing you the tips and tricks the great composers of the past have put into their songs. Thanks again and have a fantastic day.